Hi, I'm Peter Nightingale, and there is one more important thing that needs to be done. As Alex said, by the end of the day, the state will have heard from us. So I would like to invite Victoria. Where are you? Can you hit send? You're going to send an email to a whole bunch of people in the whole state. Can you do that? Okay, let's see. I'll put the pointer there, and then you hit send. Just press here. Okay. Well, I think that it would be a good idea if Jeremy gets a chance of sending some emails too. Would you like to do some? Okay.
Me too.
You too? Well,
you don't have 4 kids, you know this.
Here's the edit. And then you hit send. Just hit click here. Okay, and then we'll say, well, you do have to do another send here. Another click. Yay! Go! Oh, that's okay. It will go out now. Yeah. It has a little bit of trouble. Anyway, so I would like to say a couple of things about the more technical stuff that is in the petition that we just delivered at the director of DEM, Janet Coyte's office. Basically, the story is simple. DEM issues pollution permits, and it does so incrementally, one after the other, one after the other. From my perspective, it started with the AIM project maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but of course there's a much longer history. I've been involved with the AIM project, which was an attempt to expand, or it was a project to expand the compressor station in Burrillville. That has happened. You bring more gas to Rhode Island. Guess what? Before you know it, there is an Invenergy company that wants to build a fracked gas fueled power plant. And there is National Grid. This is Invenergy, of course. In the National Grid wants to expand their liquid gas facility in Providence, in the Providence Harbor, right next door to Jeremy and Victoria and the whole neighborhood there. This is a violation, as a matter of fact, as we think, of Rhode Island law. And this is a literal quote. DEM is responsible for, and this is the quote, cumulative effects on the environment. In other words, you cannot just say a little bit here, a little bit there, and none of that does anything. You have to look at the sum total of everything you're doing, and they're not. So, as a matter of fact, the Rhode Island Constitution says in, Article 1, Section 17, if you want to know it exactly, that there is a responsibility, a duty to protect land, air, and water. And it's not being done. So this is basically part of the legal background of the petition.
I get that you guys have your concerns about what's going on, but you can't be inside the building.
We're almost done.
This is a government building.
Okay, that's great, but you need to be on the street.
We're
This is
on
private
the
property.
street.
This is private property.
Office.
Okay, you're not in the office, you're inside of a building.
I guess we should go into the office.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's go in
Can
there.
we
want us
just
to
finish
move?
the statement and then we'll go?
I
Yeah, we're
don't
almost
want to
done.
be on camera, don't do that.
If we have less than 2 minutes, can we just go?
We'll be
with
out of
that?
your hair.
That's the man you need to speak to
Well,
right
we
there.
spoke with
Okay,
him,
that's
we
fine.
asked him for
Finish
2
up
minutes.
and go.
We said we're finishing up.
Okay.
Finish up and go.
Well, so we are asking DEM to put in place, use their statutory authority, a rule that tells Rhode Island government what it needs to do to protect Rhode Island and to protect the globe. And it means that Rhode Island should not exceed its share of the total amount of greenhouse gases that we can put into the atmosphere. There's only a certain amount we can put in there. You go beyond that and you have climate chaos. We're pretty close to that. So in order to do that, we have to reduce greenhouse gases according to a fixed scheme so that we don't overspend our budget. So the state is responsible for tracking that and making sure that the accounting is done correctly. And in order to do so, we have to also make sure that we don't export our emissions to China, for instance, as has been happening. The fact that cars are made in China or in Korea or what have you, if they are transporting those cars and creating emissions on the way and creating emissions when they produce the cars, nothing is really gained because we're on a globe, we're not on an island, even though it may be called Rhode Island. So we have to make sure that the state accounts for what is called embodied emissions, namely, what did it take to get this stuff here? What did it take to make this stuff? You have to count that. So that's what we're asking. We're also asking that the state start counting methane correctly. What they're doing currently is they're basically kicking the can down the road and amortizing our future almost literally by saying, we're not taking into account what happens now, but we're going to spread that out over the next 100 years. That is, and I'm speaking as a physicist here, that is bad physics. Stuff is happening right now, right here, in the Arctic or in smaller places such as Fields Point. You can't do that. So all of that has to be taken into account.
Okay, can we wrap up now?
It's one more point. So
You just
when
said one more point like 3 times.
no, this is
No, that's it.
when best science does not answer all the questions,
I'm not trying to be rude.
the state must
You guys are
respect
being
the
rude.
precautionary
I don't
principle.
wanna
Rather
talk. I
safe
really
than
don't.
sorry. The state must also respect environmental justice. Thank you. We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.